Hi again. We're coming to the end of The Church and the Social Movement, page 339 of Christianity and the Social Crisis by Walter Rauschenbusch. The gospel, to have full power over an age, must be the highest expression of the moral and religious truths held by that age. If it lags behind and deals in outgrown conceptions of life and duty, it will lose power over the ablest minds and the young men first, and gradually, over all. In our thought today, the social problems irresistibly take the lead. If the Church has no live and bold thought on this dominant question of modern life, its teaching authority on all other questions will dwindle and be despised. It cannot afford to have young men sniff the air as in a stuffy room when they enter the sphere of religious thought. When the world is in travail with a higher ideal of justice, the Church dare not ignore it, if it would retain its moral leadership. On the other hand, if the Church does incorporate the new social terms in its synthesis of truth, they are certain to throw new light on all other elements of its teaching. The conception of race sin and race salvation become comprehensible once more to those who have made the idea of social solidarity in good and evil a part of their thought. The law of sacrifices loses its arbitrary and mechanical aspect when we understand the vital union of all humanity. Individualistic Christianity has almost lost sight of the great idea of the kingdom of God, which was the inspiration and center of the thought of Jesus. Social Christianity would once more enable us to understand the purpose and thought of Jesus and take the veil from our eyes when we read the Synoptic Gospels. The social crisis offers a great opportunity for the infusion of new life and power into the religious thought of the Church. It also offers the chance for progress in its life. When the broader social outlook widens the purpose of a Christian man beyond the increase of his church, he lifts up his eyes and sees that there are others who are at work for humanity besides his denomination. Common work for social welfare is the best common ground for the various religious bodies and the best training school for practical Christian unity. The strong movement for Christian union in our country has been largely prompted by the realization of social needs, and it is led by men who have felt the attraction of the kingdom of God as something greater than any denomination and as the common object of all. Thus the divisions which were caused in the past by differences in dogma and church polity may perhaps be healed by unity of interest in social salvation. As we have seen, the industrial and commercial life today is dominated by principles antagonistic to the fundamental principles of Christianity. And it is so difficult to live a Christian life in the midst of it that few men even try. If production could be organized on a basis of cooperative fraternity, if distribution could at least approximately be determined by justice, if all men could be conscious that their labor contributed to the welfare of all, and that their personal well-being was dependent on the prosperity of the commonwealth, if predatory business and parasitic wealth ceased and all men lived only by their labor, if the luxury of unearned wealth no longer made us all feverish with covetousness, and a simpler life became the fashion, if our time and strength were not used up either in getting a bare living or in amassing unusable wealth, and we had more leisure for the higher pursuits of the mind and the soul, then there might be a chance to live such a life of gentleness and brotherly kindness and tranquility of heart as Jesus desired for men. It may be that the cooperative commonwealth would give us the first chance in history to live a really Christian life without retiring from the world, and would make the Sermon on the Mount a philosophy of life feasible for all who care to try. This is the stake of the Church in the social crisis. If society continues to disintegrate and to decay, this is written in 1907, the Church will be carried down with it. If the Church can rally such moral forces that injustice will be overcome and fresh red blood will course in a sounder social organism, it will itself rise to higher liberty and life. Doing the will of God, it will have new visions of God. With a new message will come a new authority. If the salt loses its saltness, it will be trodden underfoot. If the church fulfills its prophetic functions, it may bear the prophet's reproach for a time, but it will have the prophet's vindication thereafter. The conviction has always been embedded in the heart of the church that the world, that is society as it is evil, and sometime is to make way for a true human society in which the Spirit of Jesus Christ shall rule. For 1500 years, those who desired to live a truly Christian life withdrew from the evil world to live a life apart. But the principle of such an ascetic departure from the world is dead in modern life. There are only two other possibilities. The church must either condemn the world and seek to change it, or tolerate the world and conform to it. In the latter case, it surrenders its holiness and its mission. The other possibility has never yet been tried with full faith on a large scale. All the leadings of God in contemporary history and all the promptings of Christ's Spirit in our hearts urge us to make the trial. On this choice is staked the future of the church. So ends the chapter. Next chapter is what to do. I'll put in a link to what the parable of the sower and the parable of the wheat and the weeds indicate about the future of the church.